right, welcome back to Metropole TV. Dr. Njaramba is in the studio this morning. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Welcome. Karibu sana. It's been a long time since we spoke.
Thank you.
It's been a long time.
Yes,
so your president asking, he doesn't know why you're broke. He needs to understand. Do we need to give him a reason, or we just leave it at that point?
No, we need to explain to him why we are broke.
Isn't it? And there's so many reasons, isn't it?
Yeah.
What is the first one that you give him this morning as to why you're broke?
That the inflation has taken over our salary.
Pretty much.
So we are broke. We can no longer afford what we used to afford some years back.
Yes. And we like to think that we'll know what inflation is really, since he's an economist, if we don't go very far. Anyway, that makes the start of our conversation this morning. Good. Now, other than that, what a big news are you waking up for this morning? Therefore, now we do know that Kenya Airways now is up for sale by 2020. And we're calling it for sale because we know the only thing that we're talking about here this morning is renationalization. Now, the National Treasury has announced plans to buy out Air France, KLM, local banks, and over 800 individual shareholders from Kenya Airways. This will lead to the delisting of Kenya Airways from the Nairobi Securities Exchange. The buyout plan comes after Parliament voted to renationalize, and I'm saying renationalize, the airline. The Transport Ministry is working with International Finance Corporation in terms of determining the fresh valuation and the buying price. Now, the government targets to close the deal before the end of 2020. Under a model approved by Parliament, Kenya Airways will be one of the 4 subsidiaries in an aviation holding company. The others there are Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, Aviation College, and Kenya Airport Authority. Now, Kenya Airways currently is 48.9% owned by the government and 38.1% by local banks, 7.8% by Air France KLM, and 2.4% by Kenya Airways employees, and 2.8% by small investors. Now, the ball has dropped finally, but what can we make of this ailing giant? Isn't it for the final bow? Of course, no. We do expect that they say that this is going to be the turning point for the airline. But therefore, there's some issues, therefore, we really have to look at this morning just before we say, yes, it's a good move or it's not a good move. Now, Dr. Njaramba, now we do know that one of the other areas in which we are talking about government business is that everybody is saying that it's 2019, we are moving to 2020. Does the government really need to be in business? Or do we say that for KQ, the only way out is nationalization, where the government is telling you, we're going to fully own this company?
Yes, Sib. Now, to answer your question, if the government is to be in business, you know what that means is that the taxpayers' money will be used to function or to operate the business. Now, of course, as the economy grows from, of course, the experience from the stabilized economies is that we move away from government-controlled to private kind of venture for obvious reason. Now, the fact that now we want to nationalize KQ, the question is what will be new? After all, the government has been the majority shareholder. So if it is a decision when it comes to management, it still had a say, a major one for that case. Now that nationalization will occur, what new will happen? It's only that now taxpayers' money will be used to of course, perpetuate the inefficiency in KQ.
Yes.
So to me, other than now the shareholders will be willing to relinquish their shareholding from the company. Of course, it has been performing poorly for over 5 years. And of course, what we are doing is just to revert to what was there in the year 1985. So for me, the main issue is to look at the cost of operation.
Yes.
I think that's what has brought KQ down.
Yes.
The cost of operation. They've complained, they've tried to say that the cost of operation is continuously increasing. And they have particularly put forward the case of fuel. Mm-hmm. The fuel prices has been completely unstable. The price has continuously increased. And for me, that is the area that we needed to pay much attention.
Yes.
Cost of operation.
Cost of operation.
And even if the nationalization occurs,
yes,
if we do not address that, again, we just have to misuse taxpayers' money.
Yes.
In the same problem.
Yes.
Yes.
I just want us to look at exactly what the details that anybody is not telling you about this morning, really. Because now, if you look at how much we really are talking about here, now, buying the stakes itself, that's fine. We'll just need around 11.4 billion, which, as we know, that doesn't seem to be a big problem for this government because it might be borrowed from somewhere. That's fine. But when we look at the assets and liabilities of KQ, that's where the question is now. Because yes, we're going to buy the stakes, that's fine. We're going to buy out everybody to the tune of the 800,000 shareholders in KQ. But the question begins, therefore, where are we going to source this money, therefore, just to make this company come up? And just remember, the new CEO, Mikosh, then we're actually calling him new because he's not spent there a long time.
Yes.
All right, now, is bound to step out in December, which is just a month away. If you look at where we are right now, we're talking about the money that's going to be needed to balance the books, that the liabilities and assets. That's where the question is. Because as we know of it, KQ is not a company anymore because their liabilities way much outweigh their assets to the tune of billions. Are we saying that, yes, if we really nationalize this, it's going to get easier for us to merge with Kenya Airports Authority, because that is what the National Transport Committee told us, that if we don't get this merger with KAA, then this company is dead. Of course, it's a dead company as we know of it now. If you look at their liabilities and the assets, is it going to make it easier? Are we just saying that once the government takes it up, then it's going to actually make it easier for you to say, well, let's just bring the books of KAA and KQ together for us to call this one company, so that we dissolve the liabilities of KQ together with the assets of KAA?
Now, Siba, of course, we cannot just let KQ go down.
Yes. Why is it very hard for us to let it go?
I think it's an important, it is an important activity.
Yes.
Let's say without KQ, we are not assured, it's also a security concern in the event that we rely fully on foreign-owned airlines. So, of course, any country needs its own and a stable airline for security purposes, and of course for easier movement, just in case there is instability within any area or even a region.
Yes.
Now, for that, we wouldn't just allow that to go down. Secondly, now nationalizing means making it a parastatal.
Yes.
That means now we are no longer interested in the profit making. We just need to maintain it. Now merging it with other three parastatals.
Yes.
It doesn't make it more profitable. It just means that now the loss will be hidden somewhere.
Yeah.
Others will be absorbing
the losses
the
for
cost,
KQ, essentially. And that's why KA actually moved out of this merger.
Yes.
They said, no, we are not in problems. You are the ones in problems.
Yes. So, but again, the issue of and the area where loss is coming in, as I had mentioned earlier, I think that's the point of concern, because merging, you're just spreading the loss over several other companies or parastatals for this case. So, and at that, once if let's say if the KIA is making a profit, now that profit will be reduced by the fact that it has to absorb the loss-making venture in
KQ, isn't it? Yes.
But again, as I'm saying, we cannot just let it go down.
Yes.
For its importance in an economy.
Yes.
But pay attention to the real problem. What is the actual? Is it management? Is a problem?
And that's exactly what I wanted to ask you about this morning. Because we've seen KQ, it has cost to men jobs, and the current CEO, well, we're saying the current because we do know his tenure is going to end in just a couple months from now. He actually resigned. He said, I can't do this anymore. He can give us his reasons. We've spoken to him here. He can give us his reasons. But do you actually foresee a deeper problem at KQ? Can we say it's just down to management?
For KQ, Siba, I've personally tried to understand what could be the problem.
Yes.
And you see government being the main shareholder.
Yes.
And a manager, you know, once you're the CEO of a company, you really pay and do what you are directed mainly by the shareholders.
Yes.
And you see now, even when it comes to disclosing what is a problem, the CEO will only disclose what is allowed to. So for us, we need to get to deeper analysis of the real problems. And I will not be surprised that a major of it, or the big part of the problem, will be pinned in the cost of operation.
Yes.
I think the salary paid, especially to the seniors,
yes,
could actually be a problem. The cost of inputs, again, mentioning the fuel, and also mismanagement issues.
Yes.
I think we should we have too many managers.
Yes.
In those, once a company has a problem, you try dealing or doing away with what is not necessary. That is cutting down the cost.
Yes.
And as a country, we must come now to the realization of the cost of energy.
Yes.
I think that we've crying for many years that the cost of energy in Kenya is driving out business.
Yes.
I think we now need to come to that realization and get to see what to do.
Yes.
Actually, once we come to the issue of energy, the monopolistic power in it is the high time our parliament look at it soberly and of course objectively.
Yes. If you look at where we're coming from right now with KQ, you'll actually find you'll get the current CEO Mikosh telling you that we've cut even on the New York route since it was actually introduced a year ago. It's now that we can actually now start saying we'll get something out of it in months to come. They've said we're broken even, but then it says, look, the issue here is also with the pilots, in that we are charting new ways for the airline, but for an airline to be sustainable, you need more routes to make more money out of it. But then he says the way in which the pilots are actually gotten for KQ, that's where the expense comes in. He says that now, we do know there's already a conflict in how exactly how KQ can get its pilots, whether it's expatriate pilots or locally trained pilots. Then he says it takes so much money to train a local pilot. And it takes time actually to train a local pilot. When essentially you need almost 300 pilots to manage your new routes, and you actually need more. That's where the problem is, that they don't have enough pilots to actually get them through these lines. So the question is this: don't you think that before we talk about nationalizing this airline, we first need to go baseline and understand what the problems are first? Because now everybody's talking about buying out the 800,000 shareholders. That's fine. They can be bought even yesterday. But at the end of the day, you wake up to the same issue. Now there's a national airline, good, without enough pilots, that has more code shares that it needs to go into, but there are not enough pilots to take them there. There's the other biggest issue as well, management. Because we're going into 2020 and KQ will not have a CEO who will come in and actually line up this airline to the new strategy. Don't you think that we need to solve that first? Even get it a CEO to actually drive us there before we say, now we are ready for nationalization.
Siba, even when you are talking about CEO, remember Michael Jackson, the person who drove our Safaricom to the highest heights. He's been there.
He's been there as a chairman of the board,
so we cannot talk about that our problem could be the CEO.
Yes.
Because we've had the finest CEOs in the country.
Yes.
And now, even as we do the nationalization, and even once we are looking at KQ, you know, we have a number of airlines, successful ones, within the region. Ethiopian airline being one of them. So it is not an issue that you just need to reinvent the wheel. It's an issue of understanding what others are doing.
Yes.
You are not doing. What is Ethiopian airline? A country we would call a landlocked. What is it that it's doing to the success that we are not doing?
Yes.
So it is an issue. It's an issue of learning from the successful one, from the neighbors.
Yes.
And then we understand. In fact, to me, Siba, it's not that we don't know the problem.
Is that we actually do understand the problem.
We know the problem very well.
Yes.
And that's why you see the CEOs probably unable to crack the issue.
Yes.
They already are aware, and that's why even others probably they are withdrawing. They will not want to continue. You know, nobody wants to continue with something that is not working, and especially when you have a legacy to protect. So for me, Siba, the issue is that we have a problem that is clear.
Yes.
And even clear to the government. The transport CS already has a clue what is ailing.
Exactly what's going on here.
So let's hope, because again, as that is going on, as nationalization is going on, to me we are just going back to what we left without understanding why first we had to privatize.
Isn't it? Yes.
In fact, earlier on, I thought even the government is going to relinquish the 48% it had to make it more private.
Yes.
But of course, I agree. Given the interest the KQ would have to the public, it's better to nationalize than to privatize.
But Dr. Njaramba, I just want us to throw this damper on this renationalization that we're talking about here this morning. We do know government-run businesses in the country. I mean, we don't have to go far. You have to go to KPC. You have to come back to Kenya Power. You pretty much have to go to Portland Cement. I mean, we do know exactly the way it is. I mean, sugar companies in the country are closing just because. Mummy has just fired everybody the other day just because they realized they cannot continue business. Are we closing our eyes and saying KQ is special? From Kenya Power that is giving us profit warnings, from Portland Cement that is closing down, from Mumia Sugar that is closing down, is that we do have the same narrative when it comes to purely government-run businesses. Then why are we going that direction? Instead of first charting ways that could have helped us, why are we shying away from saying, we're going to actually look at exactly how we're going to do this, bring in stronger investors who will chart a proper way for this airline? Just make legislation easier for them, come in, see what the problems that we have here, and then we have a national airline that probably will start thinking of owning once things are taken.
Now, you know, nationalization and companies becoming parastatals.
Yes.
The idea behind parastatal is completely now to forget about profit making. It's completely, you forget, you consider that this company is so dear to the economy that we cannot let it go down despite the fact that it cannot make profit.
Yes.
That would mean, therefore, you'll be allocating, when we are reading a budget every year, so then there will be an allocation from the Ministry of Transport that will be going to
KQ,
just the way we have education.
Yes.
That we don't want education to make profit. Rather, we will be allocating for purposes of sustenance. And of course, what we may call a merit good. What it produces is merit good.
Yes.
And whose consumption the public would want to promote.
Yes.
So for that case, the KQ comes in as such a good, a merit good.
Right.
So we cannot, and with all foregoings, we
Yes.
cannot just let KQ go down.
Yes.
But the process of privatization, the way Mumias has gone, once the government has left it out, and you've seen how much the government has actually pumped in to try and revive it.
Yes.
If you consider for the last 5 years, not even, let's talk about 10 years, because I remember even the Kibaki government, at one point it would pump in a lot of resources to Mumias. The current government has done the same. But any time it's left out, they are unable to produce, because they are not making profit. They are not making profit. And the moment a company is not making profit, or it's not breaking even, without any intervention, it will eventually go down.
Yes.
So KQ cannot be allowed to happen. So for the time being, I think we need to embrace the nationalization. But then also now go deeper and analyze the real causes. If we have interest, now the people we give, the problem of our country is personal interest. So that even the information we get after any kind of analysis is done, it is so personalized, it is so self-driven, such that it does not achieve anything at the end of the day. So I think we need to get to deeper analysis of what is ailing KQ and see what we can do. And now that it is actually becoming nationalization, that is now the duty of the Ministry of Transport and of course Finance to come up with a recovery strategy.
We're waiting to see whether they can actually give that. All right, we're going to take a short break here on Business AM. Once we come back, more economic review. Right, welcome back to Business AM. We're still in the business of telling you what the biggest issues in the economy are this morning. Now, there's a Saudi firm that is in a deal to tap Turkana aquifer water. Now, Turkana County has partnered with a Saudi Arabia-based firm to desalinate the aquifer water that was discovered about 7 years ago. Tito Ochieng, Director of Water Services in Turkana, said the county has contracted Alimer Water to put up the desalination plant. Now, Saudi-owned Alimer Water, which has a contract with Mombasa County to put up a similar facility, will construct the plant at a cost of between 5 billion shillings and 10 billion shillings in a partnership that is expected to be sealed in the coming few months. Now, Water Secretary Simon Cheligui said he was not aware of the contract, but given that the water is under the county government, then they might have entered into an agreement with the Saudi firm. Now, the plant will be built on top of the Lotikipi aquifer in Nanama village, a move that will come as a relief to Turkana households who have over the years had to walk long distances in search of water. Good. But there's a question this morning. That's good news. It's taken us 7 years. The first question is, why 7 years and just for 5 billion shillings? Gunaf Turkana County applied for the national government for help to actually get this set up really quick and fast. It's taken 7 years since its discovery. Dr. Njaramba, now is what we're talking about this. Why 7 years?
Now, that's a question.
And it's just 5 billion, isn't it? We're losing more money to water dams in the country. Yeah.
And I really can't answer for them. But
Yes.
Of course, the question is pertinent. Why take too long? Why take too long?
Yes.
Now, even I have a problem. Let's assume it's the procedure, the procurement process, before you award.
Yes.
You know? But now, My main issue in this is that it again has gone to a foreign country.
It's going to another foreign country as well.
Saudi Arabia,
yes,
which is in terms of status not far from where we are in terms of technology, in terms of developmental resources.
yes,
we are the same level. Siba, we have water engineers in Kenya, qualified. I will relate this to what we've done, that anytime we want anything implemented in Kenya, we are rushing to foreign economies or foreign countries.
yes.
Economically, what that does is that they have the capacity to drain out what we are producing. For example, the moment we contract a China company to come and operate in Kenya, we have an element of repatriation.
Yes.
Now, if you observe repatriation repatriation of income from Kenya for the last 10 years, you'll be surprised. There is an exponential growth in terms of income repatriation.
Yes.
What does that mean? That means that what we produce is then converted to foreign currency and then repatriated. So it has a kind of double tragedy for our economy.
It's as if we're taking the shilling from here and taking it outside, isn't it?
First of all, we get it in terms, it is the income.
Yes.
What we are producing in terms of income, we first of all want to get it out. Mm-hmm. Before we need to get it out, we need to convert it to foreign currency. So there is an impact in the income part of it.
Yes.
And also in the foreign currency part of it. And the moment this one is growing, now we then need to tell the president why we are broke.
And that's exactly what we're telling him this morning, is that we are not scoring our contracts.
Yes.
And if we score them, we're actually taking this money and putting it outside there.
Yes.
Isn't it? Is it time for us to fault also the irrigation department in the government for not actually it was good. If you remember 7 years ago, that was the biggest news in Kenya.
Yes.
Is that Turkana residents are not going to suffer anymore. Mm-hmm. Water has been found. Mm-hmm. Now, this is a docket that would sit back and lose money to the tune of 29, 40 something billion, but something that's going to cost us 5 billion. They just want to rush into it. Is it time for also to fault also the national government for just not reacting fast enough to this news? Because we would expect that this is good news for everybody.
Yeah, but you see, again,
yes.
This is the function of the county government.
Yes.
So as much as the national government could advise,
yes,
it is still the responsibility of the county government.
But when you look at it from the point that we have an irrigation department in the national government that spends money to actually tell us that we're building dams, which we've not seen so far, Dr. Njaramba.
Yes.
It still plans years and years on. Shouldn't have this been a better project for them other than the dams they've lost money in?
Actually, it should have partnered. It
Yes.
should have partnered with the county government.
Yes.
Of course, a long time ago.
It's
Immediately
been
that was discovered. And
yes.
even as I was explaining to you, Siba,
yes,
we have water engineers in Kenya, qualified and working outside.
Yes.
You'll be surprised even once you bring that company from Saudi Arabia to work in Turkana. You will still use our engineers.
pretty much, isn't it? Because I don't think...
Now, the problem again
Yes.
is that the equipment required, of course, they sign some kind of agreement.
Yes.
And if you go into details about this kind of contracts and agreements, there is usually an issue of where to get the inputs.
Yes.
So that you get inputs that could be produced domestically. Now they have to come from that country.
I see that.
And again, it impact on what I was telling you,
Yes.
the issue of foreign currency and income.
Yes.
And you see the government is spending a lot of money in education. And then we complain that what we are producing, we don't need. For me, what we are producing, we are not making use of it. We have a number of universities, including Jomo Kenyatta,
yes.
is producing fine water engineers. Let them do the job. I know we've been complaining about the poor work
Yes.
done by domestic contractors. But I've had an experience working especially in the tendering process of the
Yes.
government. And I will tell you that the mistreatment we subject to our local contractors, which we don't to foreign contractors. Now, a local contractor, like now that one for foreign Arabia, I would ask, was it pre-qualified? Because every beginning of financial year, there is a pre-qualification process. Firms buy contracts. You will see that company was exempted from such process. A domestic company purchased what we call a tender,
Yes.
an annual supply kind of tenders. Second, they buy this. I know, I can tell you this from experience, that before even they are allowed to be pre-qualified, they pay, they bribe, in other words.
Yes.
Other than the legal fee of purchasing the tenders. And now after that, then they buy, once there is the work, it is advertised. And in that process, they again buy the contracts. Now, before it is given, I will tell you, they are subjected to bribing or to bribery process.
Yes.
Then the moment that is done and they are awarded the work, I will tell you the supervision from our local supervisors is a bribing process again. And then even once they get those contracts, there is the 10% argument in our country.
Yes.
That any times a contractor wins, it is on the basis that 10% of the amount won is taken back to the ministry or to the farm, or not to the farm, but to the government section that is awarding
Yes.
the contract.
Yes.
And then it goes the process before even this contractor is paid after completing I will tell you that the amount that gets to a contractor at the end of the day is half. And then we've gone ahead and say what happens is that foreign firms are better than domestic firms, because foreign firms are not subjected to that kind of harassment. And now local firms, again, they don't want to go at the end of the day, they need to make some profit. So the work they will deliver, it is commensurate to what they receive at the end of the day.
Yes.
So, and that's the reason we've gone to the point of concluding that foreign firms are better.
When in reality,
but remember, they
yes.
use domestic personnel anytime they come in. But the profit they make, which is usually huge, they repatriate back. To us, we need to consider, and that was one of the reasons. And Siba, I would tell you for sure, the reason why we need to borrow from foreign countries is because we need foreign currency. Otherwise, if it is a Kenyan case, we can always go to Dararu and print money.
Isn't it? When you look at it like that.
So the issue here is that we are in problem when it comes to foreign currency,
yes.
foreign reserve. And what is eating that? On top of the fact that we are importing a lot, I think the issue of importing contractors need to be done as a kind of deeper analysis. And from the repatriation is already communicating.
Yes.
We are not safe. So now back to the issue of Turkana water. It would be my advice that this work is done by domestic contractors. Now to the national government, let's protect our contractors. Let's protect our farms, private farms, from harassment, so that they are also able to deliver quality work and also compete fairly with foreign firms.
Pretty much, isn't it?
Yes.
All right, that's exactly what we had for you this morning. But other stories, I'm getting told, Dr. Njaramba, that we are actually done with our 45 minutes this morning. Other stories that we're supposed to look at now is that Airguts reports a 43.3 million loss, more loss-making company reports. And also this morning, we were supposed to look at Kenyan farmers crying foul as Brazil poultry products flood the Kenyan market. Guess what? All these two conversations are supposed to go online. You can be part of the conversation this morning by joining us at Metropole TV Kenya on Twitter and on Facebook and YouTube as well. One good thing with YouTube is you can go back a few minutes and actually get watching as well. What I say, Dr. Njaramba, thank you very much for being part and parcel of this conversation. Our two issues actually took our time really much, but they were worth it. I mean, that's exactly what people need to understand. All right, that's it for now. But we take a short break. Once we come back, set to trend.